All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. I am super excited today to have Arcturus RA on this channel. I met Ra on a conference in Mount Shasta that I just came back from, and I learned about his amazing technology. I even purchased one of his keys. I am super excited to have him here to explain his technology and help you guys as well. Heal, and also about his really cool gadgets that he's created as well. This man is a genius. He is a galactic ambassador. He is so much, and I don't want to take away from anything that is who he is and what he does. So I'm going to allow him to give us his background and tell us more about him, and then absolutely go through the most amazing presentation that I saw in Mount Shasta, and he's going to cover that with us as well. So Ra, I'm super excited to have you here. So tell us all about yourself and how you started creating this amazing technology.
All my life, I've received downloads and I would scribble stuff on a piece of paper. I've been in contact all my life, but I wasn't really aware of what that meant. I had no idea of StarSeeds, occult, esoteric. I had no idea what that actually means, but it always sparked my interest. The unknown, everything science can't explain, things you have to feel, or you have an inner knowing where it is. To get proof is complicated, but here and there, there's proof. So throughout my life, it trickled in. And at some point in my life, it was kind of like, you call it StarSeed protocol or briefing, happened to me. I don't know how it unfolds for others. I was contacted by, you can say, a conference call from galactic beings from the Sirian star system. And that was the protocol to wake up. So I thought I might be from Sirius, which is partially true. Like, I've been in Sirian lifetimes and Sirian wars. I found out later. Then I had to crystallize out to, psychics would always give me, relationship, financial, material. And I'm like, that wasn't covering it for me to be in my purpose, because everybody wants to know, will I be successful in business? Will I have a soulmate or soulmates? There are different parameters for us StarSeed. Some have more, some have just one. Even Edgar Cayce says that it is possible to meet more soulmates in one life than just one, because we've been here thousands of times. We have had many loves, and we've been conditioned out of that through systems and three-dimensional programming. And sometimes these feelings and memories for certain souls or more souls return. And I'm like, this world is so confusing, And I thought you love one, but then you're not allowed to love another. Like it starts in kindergarten. You play with me on the weekend. If you play with her, then I'm not going to be friends with you anymore. And the segregation began. I'm like, there's something wrong with this planet. So later on, I got my confirmation through a StarSeed awareness that this is all human conditioning, and then it kind of hinders the way of waking up. So I wandered through the myriads of the labyrinth of self, figuring out who am I by looking at the Kabbalion, other occult books that you couldn't really buy. I looked for rare gems. They were more on it. And I also looked for psychics that were galactic. So everybody can have a psychic. I call them the mentalists. They can read you. They can say your favorite color is green. Your favorite number is 5. You are very connected to your mother. I don't see the father in the picture, blah, blah. So this is cookie cutter to me. When I found my first galactic psychic, she was like, your home planet is in the Arcturian system. So I was like, okay, now we're talking. So nailing down galactically who I am also has to, for StarSeeds that investigate that, it has to ring bells. You have to have goosebumps or emotional response or cry, or your body starts shaking, something has to happen with you when you get certain information. But those who have to tell you the information, they are not told what information they tell you. And that's when you know somebody is telepathic or psychic. You cannot train that. Either you're in the know, knowing it, or you're not. So that psychic said that I'm also a commander. I have a fleet. I'm also like science, kind of like a Spock type version, like Spock is second in command on Star Trek,
Yes.
but he is actually a commander, and everything about him is, to me, is Arcturian. I was look like in my Arcturian form, if I can show this. So I have these blue up there, and different psychics confirm that. Shamans and sweat lodges saw, they say they saw my original self with the ears, so confirmed.
Wow.
So it's a complex system. So you have all of these systems around you in parallels and synchronicities, but synchronicities where you have to like really nail it down. I mean, the stories are so out there, and I'm like, okay, how can I get more scientific or increase my IQ? So they said that, well, brain repair. So I went to Peruvian shamans to do the sacred medicine with the plants, which is, you can say the colonizers have beat that out of the folks in order to run their belief system, to not touch plants anymore, to the point where they had illegalized plants, which in Peru, they won the rights back for the sacred rights of plant to use their own plant without it being classified as a drug. So we're winning here, as in biological, processable for the body. There are medicinal assistants, and mind you, there are over 15,000 other plants that are not indexed that have altering and beneficial function for the human, and are designed that way. I mean, mind you, a mushroom, they found a fossil 700 million years old. So now can you think how old the systems of intelligence are to merge with consciousness today? So how old humans are? We're millions of years old.
Yes.
So a lot of story has to be written and corrected and recorrected and restructured, which I constantly had to update and reread things in text and scripts to realize, okay, the history is, it is his story, as in the conqueror and the colonizer, and they kind of prevented people from talking to their gods, like the Kogi and others, those who emerged back to the jungle, so they can still stay in touch with that. And this is coming back. You can say the jungle farmer is coming back, because the only way to survive is to get away from the artificially produced and laboratory crap that is for temporary relief only, and going into longevity and healing. And then I found out I had a lost piece on planet Maldek before it was destroyed. There was a scientific part of me that was trapped for maybe 6,000 years in a basin in a time dimension. And this psychic, she found that, flew there with her astral body projecting, and freed that part.
Wow.
And when that soul fragment returned to me, my IQ went up, I think, 30%.
Wow.
As in quantum physics, understanding symbology and science. So you have to understand where we're damaged goods, we are fragmented souls, and we have to find our pieces and collect our pieces. So I tell the staff also to collect pieces on a major upgrade is you have to visit Mount Shasta at least. Also go to the top of the mountain, besides it being a paranormal gateway. Sedona, also minimum 4 to 5 days, hike through the canyons to get your pieces back, as well as Hawaii. Kauai or Maui, which is like an Arcturian sector there. King Kamehameha was actually the son of Arcturus. It's people don't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
And yeah, this is Kamehameha means actually Arcturus, and that explains why I'm like so drawn to it. That's the original paradise energy of Earth still permeates to the ground there. And an expensive trip would be Egypt, and it should be an educational trip to go to Edfu, Komombo, Karnak, Horus, Hathor Temple, Abu Simbel, birth temple of Isis, temple of Dendera, Saqqara, the Gize pyramid, where all the sites, did I say Dendera, Abydos, all of those sites are activation points, and these temple structures are living libraries that are still transmitting. And when you go there and you do the tour, you get pieces back, especially those that are Egypt, you know, have an affinity with Egypt, the magic of Egypt, the old days, past lives of Egypt. So basically, Shasta, Sedona, Hawaii, and Egypt are like the major activation points for StarSeeds to get a lot of stuff back.
Wow.
For those who have never traveled, I suggest you do that. You know,
Yes,
go to
absolutely.
sites where this happens. These are the major grid points that will be of importance in the future when the great reactivation returns. And it might be that in this lifetime, we will witness this as the energy increases. And the energy is already very like crazy. So I visited those places to get my pieces back, but you have to, you know, I'm telling people this is what you have to do. When you wake up, you don't know that. There's dormant and ancient knowledge, you and codings where you don't know. All of a sudden, people have an urge to go to Mount Shasta.
Yes.
They don't know why.
Right.
And I told, like I said in the audience, 90% of the people in the audience I did not see on the mountain. People don't go to those places. They don't do them. They like the theory and the stage, but there's also the hands-on, the work that must be done. So there are workbooks for activation protocols. If you're interested in getting smarter, getting more wakeful, getting more woke. I mean, people call themselves woke, and I see them and they present magic and occultism and card reading and all of this. And I don't see the aura sparkle. I don't get goosebumps because they're not fully activated yet. And they don't know that because they have not had the experience that it is so. And it is about having the experience, getting into the field, hands-on, feeling what you're supposed to feel, and then knowing the direction of where is this going, where is this taking me.
Yes.
And help me build my way. There's a book that I highly recommend, also tough to get. It's called ET 101. That's a manual that explains, okay, if you happen to be a starseed and you wake up on planet Earth, at some point you realize reality is not what they tell you it is. You have forgotten the protocol. You are born into a dysfunctional planet, helping to raise the frequency with the dysfunctional parents. Everything is a disguise to cloak you as an extraterrestrial in human form, so you're accepted by the human race, and you have to find your way back. And that is a beast. That is super hard. That's like, there's a cartoon, I think, on Netflix called The Hollow, where kids want to play a game. And this is so interesting that we create those shows. And they wake up in another world. They have no idea who, they have forgotten everything. Now they have to remember who they were and get out the game.
Yes.
That's ascension. And that's why we're here. So this is a holographic projection. It is real. Bodies bleed. You can lose your vessel. There can be pain. It's a very impressive game because it's neurologically and hyperdimensionally linked to your avatar, but your soul is not bound to this place. When you ascend or transcend, your next level. And you never heard of a case of a 30-year-old going back to high school. So once you have mastered the game, you move on. Those who have not mastered the game, and there are some people in the game, they run around with magic and abuse and manipulation and darkness, and you see the war and governmental structures. Any, you could say, in terms of illegal action that is not of the divine source plan, you'll have to come back. Anything to yourself of a manipulation on any level to you that is not an essence of source, you will return until you learn to master the self, how you come here, how to accept yourself, then you transcend. And there are still hardheads that think they can override the program and get out of there with cheat codes. Some are reptilian, some are draconian, some are of Arcturian influence that has to do with the parasites that we carry. And there is no way around this. This entire thing is governed by an omnipotent force of light, and they check this, and the stargates are open for those who are actually of a divine nature. If you have an undivine nature, as in you're in dissonance with that, you can't even pass the gate. You won't even have the key to open the lock. When that's understood, essentially it becomes much easier.
Yes.
So I'm learning to put the pieces together, the codings, things that come to me, and put it in perspective to activate the body. I probably will do that in the future. The chakra activation course that I did in my second lecture in Shasta, I'll make that a course.
Oh, that's wonderful. I actually had to miss it because I went hiking that day, that morning with Lowell for the second time. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so that's going to be on my Etsy store with basically a PDF form and a unlisted private link that only then you would have, and then you would have basically your course.
Okay.
So I want to do 3 courses. One is the chakra activating course, where I'm explaining what's a chakra, to getting you in tune with what does that actually mean for me, how does that feel, why does that feel, and what does that mean, what do we carry? Second, I want to do a manifestation and abundance class to simplify manifestation, also to explain how to get out of the 4-dimensional levels to activate also 5th-dimensional manifestation. And 5th-dimensional manifestation can mean that you build miraculous things. You get into the higher divine aspect of what you're here to do. So there are levels to manifestation and divine manifestation. It's not like I want a Porsche tomorrow or a Lamborghini. Enjoy what you manifest, but is that beneficial right now to manifest like the crazy stuff, or is it beneficial for you to manifest what's actually practically needed for you, that which also will restructure the economy, as they will tell you the economy is crashing. The economy right now is not crashing, as people are being conscious now with what they're spending. So the commercial people are not selling so much nail polish right now, car wax, I don't know, whatever. Now people want to look at, okay, the business right now is ascension, health, wealth, a stable and educated spiritual mind, past all books, to unify everything that is. That is high right now. And then you can get into buying property, homes and houses. And I know 3 millennials right now that bought 12 acres, 20 acres, one has 50 acres, and they're building spiritual retreat centers. So the downloads are getting clear. Another one wants to build an airport, like for interdimensional craft. That's a platform, kind of like the Metatron symbol that's behind you. And make this an hexagonal platform that is gridded with graphene, which eliminates EMF distortions, magnetite, which regulates the base field, and then crystalline substance in an array and symbolism to structure a phase conjugate, meaning a divine platform, and that's attractive for ships to show up. And we have to build that. Then they're more attracted to come. At some point, there'll be many starports or StarSeed starports where contact will be established, and mediators will sit, knowledge will be exchanged, and the building will begin from there. And that's the major download for a lot of people with money right now and property. They're looking into healing devices such as the medbed that I've built,
Yes,
and
I'm excited
energetic
about that.
platforms
I'm
to energize
super
and
excited about that.
yeah, to stabilize the particular energy in the field, that we don't have so much psychic turbulence, because major cities have so much problems with crime rate and whatnot. Is because of the psionic field of people that are disturbed or kind of off the divine path. So there's a lot of psionic disturbance in major cities, and Shasta has less. Sedona, we have like literally no crime rate here. Like the cops have flower of life tattoos, and they're not so quick to ticket you. They're like, they mediate, they're use diplomacy.
Wow,
They're very, very friendly. So because they're in the field. Now I talked to a
that's
cop
awesome.
in LA who will have a whole different program going on. So you see
Yes,
the field influences the people. So there's
absolutely.
very little aggression here. And it's peaceful, it's safe. People leave their house and home open, their cars, they don't lock stuff here. It's very peaceful. My neighborhood, like my neighborhood watches my house, I'm watching them, we help each other. It's very peaceful. And that can be produced by, when people buy property in other regions, setting up big generators that will create a harmonized field. Kind of like Metatronic, as in Metatron represents actually the higher divine order. I will later on explain that in my presentation. When they looked at the biological bonding angles of the atom, and under a microscope, you see actually the Metatronic connection, which had a completely different name. I think it was called Metonator. Yeah, this is if you are of a divine order. That's the original word. And I'll word it for a new pendant that I'm working on. I don't have the model here. Like I want to work on a Metatronic in gold, and my download tells me to call it Meta Nurture, as in Natur.
Okay.
As in, so that is actually the higher divine program of nature that nurtures. So,
wow, beautiful.
And so that's how these downloads come together. I see these things, combine them and connect them, and then make sure they're beneficial for the wearer. Quick question. So since you have the key, what do you feel with the key? What are you feeling?
I feel peaceful, more peaceful, more with the flow, it's hard to explain, just happier, more peaceful.
Yeah, people told me they felt like tingles on their chest,
I felt tingles with the big one, the square one, the one that was more square, not square, but longer, bigger.
Yeah. And their appetite has changed, their metabolism has changed a little bit, and the energy over the day is more stable. So they had a group of elderly women that said that they really felt the difference, and they never felt like so much of a difference, because they always test different pendants and things. So this is about bioresonance in nature. And I'm also showing with my teachings that I don't base this on guesswork or fringe science that's so far out there that there's no evidence. I'm working with science that has a base. There is already things that have been proven. And on my YouTube channel, I have uploaded, you can say, scientific data of companies that don't know what this is. I send it to them and they test it, and they tell me what their test results are. So that makes it real in this dimension. You know, I can't tell them it's a 23-dimensional superluminous device that captures photons from the vacuum and projects it into a storage medium. All I can do is I can say, okay, I have this activated sticker here. It's crystalline, it's reflective. Can you measure it with the Petri dish? And so they put the sticker, which is my phone chip, with a Petri dish of human cells. And they leave it in the lab in an enclosed chamber for 3 days. And then I'm getting a notarized and scientifically approved by a German company, and they're very strict, because if you're bogus, they'll tell you you're bogus. So the cell metabolism of the human cell is accelerated by 21% after 3 days and stabilizing. And then they measured that when the cell metabolism is increased slightly, its defense against EMF is like a shielding. EMF has less effect on you when your inner metabolism is upped a little bit.
Okay.
It doesn't stress the body really much. You don't have to really eat more like a bodybuilder. So it's a slight enhancement where my chip doesn't mitigate EMF. It gives the body a cellular information of cell resonance to have a defense up against 5G.
Okay.
And we measured people without the chip on the phone with a spectrum analyzer that shows you if you are stressed. EMF is a stress factor. And then shows people are in the red, meaning the cellular matrix and overall with the phone is stressed. You have 5 gigahertz pumping to a locator beacon to always have your phone online. You can measure that with an EMF detector. You hold it close and the thing will beep. It's because it's constantly sending. So you have that thing pulsating, always wearing it. Well, that affects your psyche to a degree where you might not feel it, you know, but you have a little latency of stress with you, maybe 15%. Well, you don't need, if your car, let's say your fan belt is stressed to like 10%, you don't hear it. You don't notice that your car is still running, but over time it'll deteriorate. So we're going into the field before it can manifest. So then we had people holding the chip in their hand, and then we measured them again, and they ended green. And when you have that, then you can say you're less prone to being affected by EMF, you can say manipulation or interference. And that shows me that the science has a physical effect on people. So when it comes to the med beds, that's even better, where we had, like I had a mentor who has since passed in Germany, in Bavaria, and the company doesn't exist anymore. You know, I'm continuing the legacy of where photons go and bioresonance, and what does that have to do with photons and biophotons. And we had built the first medbed maybe 15, 16 years ago. And this was just photonic based. And he had a client in there that had a tumor, frontal lobe, inoperable. They couldn't really cut it. After 6 weeks, that thing disappeared.
Wearing this?
No, laying on the med bed.
Laying on the med bed. Okay.
Which is the extended technology from the key, like much stronger and bigger.
Right.
And we couldn't make the claim. You know how it is with other companies out there. The guy didn't want to be interviewed. He just wanted to live his life. But when I observed that, not only did I get goosebumps, but I also was like, okay, if photons can teach the body to heal itself without supplements, you know, we're not talking any special diet, then it's like, if I can change the information, how cells communicate. If you have, let me see if I show you this. So this is a cell, and this is a cell. And higher self is here, lower self is on earth. And this is your oversoul, or what you call God, then there's source. So when people are having dis-ease, you're out of alignment with your oversoul, or it's out of range. So what I'm doing with the medbed and with the keys is I'm moving the original body closer to the oversoul. What the cells do, they start comparing. If the car, which is the astral version of your body, in the original program setting is divine and healthy and has no problem, then you need to reflect that. And with the medbed, I can kind of copy you from the bed into the higher realms. And when that happens, your cellular communication picks up and your body can pick up and talk better. I explained in the first session, I think you have witnessed that one.
Yeah.
There are biomechanical and biological impulses being transmitted between the cells. And if the light is not corrected and structured within the body, I think there's like biochemical impulses, up to 100,000 impulses in seconds, back and forth.
Wow.
And that is like a data processing. Are you okay? Are you okay? You're not okay. Okay, fixing, helper cells, like always communicating. So that is before you have to take any substance, this communication has to be 1000%. And what I'm doing with my photonic technology is I'm helping the body to establish that communication and stabilize it with the photons. Photon is also called the messenger molecule. This makes sure that the data is unaltered as it's being transmitted. And that's why the human race fell from consciousness. We couldn't store the data anymore. You know, what is we altered it, we changed it. And that's why we fell. And I'm going back to reactivating the avatar to restructure the original blueprint that is in the programming, which you don't even have to influence, or you have to make the communication for the body clear, and the body knows what to do. So how do we do that? And that will lead into my presentation. In a root cellar, you get better. Sleeping on the floor, on the soil, your back pain disappears. In a salt mine, asthma disappears. You go to the Dead Sea, the salty sea, asthma, eczema, all of that stuff disappears. Not only because you're mineralized in the high sodium levels, this is just all surface science. There is a bioresonance in the crystal that your skin understands. And when that happens, everything disappears. Then people go back home, eczema returns, asthma returns. Why? Because they're out of the biological field of the Dead Sea. So, like I said, I wanted a sign. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I wanted to look at what is it that we have on planet Earth that is already working, that we can observe, and that's that. So I've seen in Germany people do steam baths in crystal mines or salt mines, and they get better. So I had to look at why is that? That's because of the bioresonance and the biological field. And then while I met my mentor in Bavaria, who's all about bioresonance and how do I store a bioresonant field and amplify that and set the parameters that high that the body can actually understand or overstand, if you will, like really soak it in, getting in resonance with what naturally is, and that's light. So then people complain on a side note, yeah, but if light is fifth dimensional, that's not enough. That still can be infiltrated, which I don't believe personally.
Yeah, I agree.
So I said, yeah, that they say, yeah, flower of life is a 10-based math. That's a false light matrix. No, that flower of life is infinite. Yeah, imagine if the flower of life is a keyhole to the room. That actually maps out so far, it's infinite. There is no 10 base or whatever. So to go over what people tell me, what math things are in, I said the same thing with Metatron. Metatron is the keyhole to the infinite space of the multitude of the parallel dimensions behind it. So the keyhole is not the bad thing. It's also not a trap. You build a building according to the Metatronic cipher, it'll outlast any building you built in town. Why is that? Because time doesn't really operate on those buildings. The pyramid doesn't really age because time cannot corrupt it that much. The only reason why the Giza pyramid looks withered because people built half a Cairo with the surface of the pyramid by stealing the rocks. If you would have left that building untouched, nothing will move. Time moves slower, molecular decay moves slower. Science cannot to this day explain that certain artifacts do not age. If you build in a divine matrix, you have surpassed time. Our bodies used to be like that. We fell. So we don't have a lot of time to figure this out. You know, you need thousands of years to find enlightenment. With one lifetime, impossible. So I have built a device that is 23-dimensional. And what it does is it captures photons from the vacuum. And it has to be divinely activated. I don't know. Here. Like imagine a photon cannon that kind of looks like this. Yeah, these were sold out. That's why I didn't have them with me.
Yeah.
And this has to be in an array, in a geometric array, and has to be big enough. And it has to sit in a vacuum. Then the system turns on and it attracts photons. They come to it and they shoot out to the front. And anything that's a storage medium can be activated. And that's how I operate with my devices. Everything is photonically activated. And you can build wonderful things and machines out of that. And I'll have a more polished version here. So
Yeah, it looks just like my pendulum. Looks exactly like that.
Yeah. So this is a 22-dimensional pendulum. And yeah, and these things do their job. And this is channeled, and you have to know what you're doing. You have to really get into the matter of the science. There's a thing also called occult science, where people have channeled material and minerals from the mineral kingdom by scrying, by feeling into it, and then drawing out what this looks like.
Mm.
And they repeated the experiment. They got gold, selenium, they got iridium, all types of minerals that were atomically sketched correct by the medium. And that shows that occult science, when in tune, is possible. It's not a guesswork or like remote viewing. It's actually more precise than remote viewing, because you'll have the molecular structure in front of you when you know what you're doing. And when people can channel correctly and their avatars are functioning correctly, well, when more magic will unfold. And that magic is beyond knowing the Enochian alphabet or the 6th and 7th book of Moses, and all what people want to also, you can say, perpetrate the dark arts, which is not really beneficial because it has a price. You know?
Yes, of course.
If you want to play with Ouija boards and all that stuff, if you are full of light, you have nothing to worry. Your best defense is not protection spells, is awareness.
Exactly. And always shining that light.
Yeah, when you are a lighthouse and you know who you are, first of all, you don't require help to manipulate anything. You are a sorcerer by sourcing original energy from the source, hence sorcerer or sorceress, or witch, which I think is like a negative term.
Oh, I like that. I did that name, the sorcerer. Like you say, it's source, it's sorcerer. Wow, I love that.
Yeah, you're sourcing, literally. That's
yes.
That's called sorcery. You're sourcing original energy. And
yes.
an original white wizard is, whether it's male or female, a diviner that assists divinely things that should fall into place by a divine order, not manipulate, and only with consent.
Wow. Beautiful.
That's what white magic is. And that other stuff really has no future, because you degrade your soul when you deal with dark arts.
Makes sense.
Basically, you dealing with that is you losing soul particles, and it takes lifetimes to find those and put them back together. And people are not fully aware of what pieces am I missing in life. They don't know. I've been reading this stuff since I was 11, so I know there's certain knowledge that even you can see the new millennials on YouTube, so quick with occultism and Aleister Crowley, and they're jumping into, there were people that had to pay a very bitter price for dealing with, I need help with something that requires something from you in order to fulfill the job. It's costly. And when they transcend, it's too late for them to realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That's why we need to realize that what to work with and what not to work with. We are here for that, to really be clear. What's the operational level here for me to stay in my divine nature and do what the divine will actually commands? And then we'll be fine. And it's less misunderstanding. And yeah, it gets really miraculous.
Absolutely.
Past the basic manifestation, you know.
Absolutely. So are you ready to show us the amazing stuff you have on the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So let's do it.
You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So even if it lags, you have images. Hopefully the voice continues. We'll talk about bioresonance. So we talk about the Great Pyramids. The Great Pyramid is an accumulator of light, tachyon, scalar, magnetics, negative ions, and photons. That's very important to have a functional generator. The magnetics are missing. That's why the pyramid is kind of dormant. The pyramid has been damaged, has dabbled with it too much. So you go further. This is a resonant chamber of the King's chamber, as you can see. In the center, the resonating point in the center is 432 hertz. That is also what the central sun resonates. Original bioresonance. You can see what always has me wondered, why was the King's chamber moved away from the center? It's like slightly off. Probably because the resonance of the pyramid was where it is. That with human knowledge and human knowledge of architecture of this day, you cannot construct this. Like we can't, not even draw it out with a pencil, because we don't know about those modalities. You can see there are over the top of the chamber, these little brackets of relief chambers where there's space, and then you have a limestone in between that has to do with resonant and non-resonant, or conductive and non-conductive, that creates a field. The field, here's the Niagara Fall, is highly productive in terms of negative ions, photons, magnetic anomalies, tachyon, and scalar waves naturally occurring. That's why people go there for healing, you know. Jungle of the Amazon or Hawaii, same thing. Where nature flows, nature grows. That has to do with the bioresonant field. And we want to introduce that to humans, bring it back to its original settings. This is a root cellar. And in this root cellar, you see potatoes. And you could also put other things like apples in there. And they would last up to, you can say, a year. And that's because of bioresonance. You see here, this is a cleaner version of a root cellar. You want the soil open. So see here, onions, pumpkins, stuff lasts without rot because it sits in a bioresonant field.
And when you say it sits in a bioresonant field, you mean it's on the ground. The ground doesn't have cover.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I looked at the case of abductions where ships touch the ground. So you can see here a tree. The internal structure is no decay, and the external is decayed. So the internal is where the craft left a residue of a bioresonant field, higher dimensional field, when it touched the ground. And you could count the rings that 15 years after the craft appeared, the tree was basically not aging. And when the craft, the field basically dissipated after 15 years, the tree started dying. So that shows me again, that's a bioresonant field, and it came from a spaceship, a royal craft. Then negative ion support has to do with metabolizing the cell, like having the cell interacting. So biophotons create 100,000 biochemical reactions between healthy cells. That's when everything is up and running. I looked at the light dynamics. So, and I figured out through channeling and many parallel ideas that vitamins direct light, minerals store light, enzymes balance light, cells produce light, blood transports light, plasma in the blood structures light. Then the seventh level is conscious awareness is light. Melanin is basically a, you can say, light interface that brings spirit to matter. So things that are in the ether can actually, through a divine passage, come into physical form. 9 is the ka, the light body, or the factory setting of the soul blueprint, the pure plasma body. I'm comparing the original body to the plasma body in the healing process. 10 is the oneness, when one with all is realized. 11 is oneness in others recognized. And the 12 is interconnected in the central sun awareness, interdependence, atomic level. So meaning you're having atomic awareness. You'll have 12 levels in. That's a complete level of light dynamics,
Okay.
fully aware in the body. This is the Scientific Institute in Germany for cell biological test systems. So I put it up so people can see it. Is that we have created a 5mm silica quartz storage medium, photonized cell phone chip. As they say, like in any test results, we didn't use any animal testing methods for enhanced cellular effects on the cells. And then you can see that the, let me see, the chip is a stimulating effect within the vitality of the exponential cell tissue in direct comparison with the untreated tissue. In these control tests, we have realized that the level of stimulants reached 20% after 3 days. This we could measure through the following: activity within the mitochondrial dehydrogenation of the tissue. Further studies serve the optimization of that experimental design, and it also serves to secure a statistical accuracy for the latest test results. So this is by a scientific institute. And basically, I'm affecting the mitochondria also and stabilizing the cell in a higher dimensional level. And that
Which
can
is
be measured.
huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So I have this translated, notarized in science, so people see the science behind it. It's not some voodoo. It's really
Yes.
actually happening. They don't know why it does that. They were kind of baffled, but they say this is the result. So numbers don't lie. Yeah.
Yes.
This is the chip that I put on the phone. You can see the sparkles in the chip. This is crystallized quartz powder, as in glass beads, and they are laminated. So they're covered with a plastic sheet. And I put the information program on the plastic so the chip can transmit through the light the frequency of the words that I put on a chip. So the words you can see here for people that are beneficial. I checked also Masaru Emoto, compassion, fearless grounding, power, balance, light, health, prosperity, forgiveness, wisdom, harmony, peace, abundance. Then the sun, very powerful, eternity, love and thanks, and dolphin. And I had cards where I could compare, what images you would see. And people can Google that, Masaru Emoto. You'll see beautiful crystal mandalas forming with those
Yes.
words.
Yes.
So I'm giving you the highest resonance possible transmitted through this photon field. So here you can see that is in Egypt. You see what the guy is looking at?
No, you can't, it doesn't come through.
Oh, it's too pixelated?
No, it's just kind of like cloudy.
Okay, it's the flower of life.
Okay.
And that's an original ancient symbol. So I looked at the flower of life and the structure. You see it now, the black and white?
Yes.
Yeah. So I looked at the three components in the universe that you find on meteors that are millions of light years away coming to Earth, and that's hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So this is basically these, when you look at into the white space, it almost looks like a bent triangle. You follow?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the space between spaces, and that's what connects all the parts to make that even possible. So I made a device. I found somebody else online who had the same download, who looks inside that three space. When the Messiah says three in my name, I think it's alchemical. And this is what you see. I made a device that shows before the spheres touch the space in between spaces that connects that. And you get this tetrahedron that's kind of bent. So there is a form there that has a resonance. And that are lead my science of photons and light being structured correctly in a correct manner. So here I call this the divine creator program, which you find even in the Hindu religion, they have that as well. Is when the cell is protected, the cell membrane is protected, the cell water is in the fourth state, and the plasmic structure, as in the car, is accurately connected. That's what you see. Then you have, fire, water, earth, air,
Yes.
to make the whole principle of one functioning program. These are higher divine programs that's past our science. This was decreed by beings you can't even imagine their power. This is the biochemical bonds of an atom in order, and that's under a microscope.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Wow.
is accurately what is represented when your atoms are in order.
Wow.
That's life. So there is no debate that
Exactly.
the symbol of Metatron is a higher divine order. When everything is healthy, everything is in order. It's not a trap or whatever people try to sell you. So this sacred symbology is based on science that comes from our body. And if you read Greg Braden, God Within the Body, the God Code, our Gattaca Code literally describes that God within eternal, God Elohim eternal within the body. These are divine codes. And there's no debate. This is what you look at. This is what it looks like before it connects with everything else.
Yeah.
So I created a copy of that with a photon chip that combines eternal, health, balance, thank you, harmony, and power, and a structured field within. So I built these things from the scientific, the science looks at stuff and says, this is what it looks like. I put this into an interpretation of this is what I'm building this into.
Yes. Which I'm sure was channeled.
Yeah. So when things are in order, you see this crystal, ice crystal, forms according to the program. And this is a divine program structure. I think that spaceships, the royal crafts and high dimensional beings work with that same principle, that their crafts are alive. And you can see the program matrix in that thing. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Stunning.
this is how holy water was frozen, if water is denaturalized, it will not show you this. It looks actually disruptive. So everything kind of harmoniously looks in order, and that's nature. And all I do is I learn from that and go back to the templates. This is what this is showing me. There you have a god, a nature, which is a representation of somebody who is fully realized is in nature. And he holds a jet. from there, I devised the idea to build a key, the one that you have. And
Yes.
that jet key, it talks to the DNA of the human vessel. Not only that, it's filled with quartz sand. And quartz sand is to, you can say, activate photons through the brass by bringing it to a communication level that a divine field is actually established. So I made different versions, and they're based on the principle of raising of the jet, what the Egyptians would, you can say, activate the consciousness in the avatar. So you become the Ra, which is the highest attainment of light in the vessel, in human form. That's the pursuit. So here I'm showing you the crystallized nano. This is very fine. It's finer than beach sand. Nano sand that is in the key that I then seal. So the brass can promote the photons coming out and attract negative ions and photons. So you have a little jet generator around your neck.
Wow.
And it's so complex that people try to replicate me. They can't, because you have to have the alchemical background and the science and all the ingredients. And the thieves miss that. So good, I'm protected in a way, you know.
Absolutely.
Because you have to activate. If that sand is not activated, it doesn't do anything. It's just dormant. But you can't see it, but it does the job. So here you can see electric generators are built with these plates. That's nothing new. The Egyptians knew this in the ancient times. So I'm comparing science to the ancient, you can say the ancient future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I put the key into this triangle that I showed you. As it activates through that triangle, the DNA, the science. It's like a puzzle piece, if you can tell. I had to put this together.
Yes.
And it had to fit and make sense. This is, I say, not myth, but science. I will build a bigger generator, kind of one of this size.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that there were smaller beings that were chiseled out, you can see. And the bigger one, they tried to deface, actually, what's important. And that's the light.
Ah.
That is a light generator, you know, and I will rebuild this and put it up in the backyard so people have original core energy. So this will
Wow.
stuff. So I have to talk to manufacturers to make this out of iron for me, so it can actually be a big resonator. So I will see who I can find that can actually print this for me.
And what do you think they defaced at it's the bottom of the thing, right? At the bottom?
Yeah.
What do you think was there?
Well, I think a human, and I think the giant was either an Anunnaki, or like there were larger beings on this planet.
It looks like a lion face, actually, or like a tiger face.
Yeah, I think this was a
something.
human. And they try to deface temples, so we couldn't backtrack what actually happened here.
Ah,
But
wow.
I've been to Egypt, I've seen it, you know. And
Wow.
again, here I show you, this is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest I have is the mega key. I'm just showing the comparison. This is for the Earth Arcana template. That's the 22-dimensional Jedi pendant that I showed you, which is a copy of my photonic reactor that I built, which is bigger, to capture photons from the vacuum.
Does that one have also crystals inside?
Yes,
like the others?
all of them are, yeah, all my technology is activated and filled with those crystals.
Okay, and then what's the difference between this one and the other two?
This one is some people pick that because they want their 22 arcana, like the tarot, all the character profiles that you want to heal, all in one, get them all in one line and heal them, and people pick that.
Okay.
So this is a fuel diviner, a smaller and a bigger version. They help you to actually save fuel because they harmonize the way fuel runs as an efficient to your motor. And this is basically what they look like. Now we're going to the life force that comes out of Sedona ground.
Well, before we go there, go back to the fuel thingy. I want you to tell the story about how you created this. And because you actually have proof that this works. So
yeah, well, I have a video up where I'm testing a Chevy and I'm turning the Chevy from 26.9 to 49.7 miles per gallon on the highway. And I filmed it. I showed the computer, I showed what's running, and it's really working. So it's a funny side note how that happened. I'm in the field of photons. I know what photons do to liquids. I have somewhat of a rough idea, a rough sketch. And I'm reading this crystal book. And in this crystal book, it mentions attaching a double-ended Lemurian quartz to a fuel line can possibly assist in fuel savings. So I'm thinking this is so far out there, this is not going to work. And so I took a quartz crystal, attached it to my fuel line. Back then I had a Mazda van. Of course, nothing happened. And I'm like, now you're leaning out too far. This is ridiculous. And then I'm thinking, maybe this thing is too weak. Maybe the influence it has on the fuel line is too weak. And then I looked at, well, my sand is actually amplified. Like imagine a small pebble of the size of 0.8 millimeters has the impact of 1 kilogram quartz. So now imagine a pendant is like a miniature crystal mine you were wearing around your neck because of its potency. So I was thinking, if I can increase the potency and add like 1,000 of those crystals attached to it, maybe there's a response. So I filled a steel pipe, which looks like a pipe bomb, with the sand and clipped it like a small version, like lipstick size, to my fuel line. And all of a sudden I had like 15% increase in fuel.
Wow. Wow. So let's talk about, I was looking at the Etsy shop to get one because you were sold out. And in there you mentioned something about if the car has fuel injection, then it might not work or something to the, I didn't get the whole gist of it.
By computer, it can irritate the computer if the computer all of a sudden in your car realizes less fuel is needed. Sometimes I think those companies want you to consume. So in 1% of the cases, I have that where the car has a hard time responding to it. But all the cars usually work. Out of 100 cars, I have one car where the guy tells me to this day he can't get his car to save fuel.
Which brand? What's the brand?
Oh, it's a van. Something like a Sedona van, you know, these big vans.
Okay.
And I'm still working on it. I have to figure out, sometimes I need to figure out what's the sweet spot. When does it respond? But all other cars are fine. They're all saving fuel.
Okay. So if I have a 2018 Lexus,
should work.
It should work. Okay.
Send me a photo, I can tell you.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Shall we continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so swirling life force. So the proof that light and magnetics come to the ground in nature is, you see that tree. That is in a vortex area in Sedona. When I go hiking, naturally trees, we call them witches trees, they form like that. So here's what I did. I chopped my bush in front of my house and attached the pendant to the root of one part of the bush. No rain, no water. So look at here, this is the connection part. The pendant attached to the root. And you see how the bush is green and the rest is gray. Can you tell?
Yes, everything else is dead.
Yeah. So that shows you the life force coming from the pendant enhances and accumulates life force naturally. Interestingly, when I took that photo with my camera, you see it's 11:11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was all synchronicities just add up.
Amazing.
So
Let's see.
I show you basically the key with a rubber band, which after 6 months got so dry that it fell off because the rubber dried out. It's funny,
Hmm.
but the bush was still green. So I'm working with actually 23 dimensions of light. That's according to the alchemical math assigned to these photonic cannons that I built. It's counting and sacred geometry, and I did the math, and it's like 23. So basically, when light, the correct light beam hits the cell, it splits it into 7 rays. This is this dimension, this is how this works. And that only when the light is undisturbed. So let's say you're living in a bad environment and you're missing orange, then your sacral chakra is suffering. But hence all the organs that are connected with the sacral chakra are suffering. So this is what correct light looks like in the 22nd dimension, even though we're going one above it. And what I'm doing is correcting the light influence to the body. Here, I had put essence of my sand by my water meter, where there would be a fence, but you can't see it, and a tree that actually broke in half. You see the tree, if you can really look at the tree on the right side, it is cut. It's kind of stumpy in the top. This thing was cut in half. It was black, and the guy was like, that tree is done. After 2-3 months of inserting my crystal pebbles into the ground, the bamboo from the neighbor exploded into my driveway. As you can tell, there was nothing there. This was not there. And the tree, out of the cut pieces, the stumps, if you can see,
Yeah,
the
you can see
green
the stumps.
grows, it explodes. That shows you the life force coming from the devices with that
Wow.
technology. And I can do this every time with any property. Then I build to figure out how do I, and this was before the medbed, how do I make this stronger? How do I enhance this? How do I get into bigger phases? So I have 24 karat gold plated copper pipes filled with the sand with activated nanoparticles underneath, had a lot of energy, but for transport, it wasn't really stable. Things would break. So I was like, I have to build a much more stable device. I'm just showing you, like, I'm always into artistry and how do I beautify actually the science. Then I created a zero field ionizer and no electricity needed. This basically creates ions. The way I built this, I had a certain number array of plates, and they accumulate an ionic field. The top of steel balls you see are actually Harley Davidson clutches, which I had to order several. And they're like, you building motorbikes? I'm like, no, I'm building a device that you wouldn't understand. So I just ordered the clutch pieces to build my, it's like Home Depot and Harley Davidson clutch tops. Like, industry doesn't really directly produce what I require.
Of course.
In custom laser cut hexagonal plates that I engraved with like an energetic field. And I measured it and it works. That's a prototype.
Wow.
Then I stored like bananas, avocados, water on my projection devices. And they last weeks, without that, they rot faster.
Wow.
Also, my pictures, the shelf life is increased when I'm using those devices. This is then my next bigger device, the scalar fractal module that I put on my table that you've seen and felt. And people buy this for their house and home. This hits 6,000 square feet toroidal field. And clearing your space, your garden, everything. House field harmonization, 5G mitigation, defense against EMF. And it's a scalar fractal capacitor module that basically has tachyon energy, scalar, everything the pyramid has, plus magnetic alignment and emanating its own field. This is how I thought, like a good commercial could look like. This is also, that item is also sold. So bring life and consciousness into your home. As in basically the grass grows greener, higher, and plants explode. So people buy this for their homes. This was $7,000 unit that a couple wanted. They had this big house. This was 40 pounds heavy. We were just
Wow.
built on the same principle, hitting over 12,000 square feet circumference, creating a photonic and ionic field naturally. Here is, I show a glass bottle that was activated with photons, and I put seeds in there, seeds just in the water, not in earth. And after like 4 or 5 days, you see these seeds just explode into growth.
Wow.
Do that with a regular bottle at home. You can test it and just drop seeds in water. They probably won't grow. This is to show you the energy. I can turn milk into yogurt with the same energy. Regular
Wow.
milk that would rot, will all bio-viral accessibility and bacteria will come back to life, and you'll have yogurt that you can eat.
Amazing.
This is when I come with the holodynamic medbed, zero field energy, photon ion therapy for life. Doesn't need any maintenance, doesn't run on electricity. I'm repurposing the natural environmental field. It's magnetic, it's biophotonic, it's organic, it has scalar and tachyon energy in it. And I think I'm the only one in the world that builds beds like this, and I have it in physical form. Why everybody talks about government rollouts and they're already in secret using it. As long as I haven't seen anything, I don't believe anything.
Mm-hmm.
I say experience is the ultimate, and if I haven't spoken to one person that has experienced one, I don't believe in the hype. That's just for me. I believe in when it can be put up and it can be demonstrated and people can see it and it's in physical form, then we're talking about something physical. This is the first sold prototype that I built. That's in office. We're running already tests. As you can see, there are photon shooters built in. All the electrical appliances are removed because they're not necessary. When people say it looks like a tanning bed, it used to be a tanning bed. These are the ideal hulls for what I'm actually making.
Mm-hmm.
And in the future, my med beds will kind of still look like that, but I want it more like Star Trek. Right now, it's very expensive to design it. I'll show you why. This would be a holodynamic pod where the holodynamics are inside and your head will be outside. This is just an idea. This is the future version of a future prototype where, if you can tell, there are speakers in the back and I want to attach lights. So I will add electricity to that. So you have the photon array under you and over you, and you'll have basically sound and light therapy. But this would be like $100,000 model. And we're still trying to find a manufacturer that can print those pieces. This was like, fiberglass and hand modeled, which is a beast. And we can't really produce it that way. So we have to figure out a company that has the capacity to produce them. So this will be the future. And I want it like Star Trek and easy get in and easy get out for people. So that's the idea. And that completes the presentation of my findings and what I have created.
Wow. 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 So tell us how people can get a hold of any of these items. I know you have an Etsy shop where people can go and buy the different items.
Yeah, so I can show you real quick what I've sold already. Just the beauty of the things is I built something that's called Metatron's chest.
I don't know how you have time to build all this stuff.
$2,000 model, and it's very. They have the pattern engraved in it, so it's
Wow.
yeah. This a lady already ordered that. That's custom made. Yeah,
Wow.
sometimes when sales are good, and you catch me, I have time to build those things. But the other boxes, I'm sold out. I have one left. They're also unlisted. So the box is like around 4,500 plus shipping. The big one, the smaller one that I showed you, which is the latest, I just channeled that in. It's called Metatron's Chest. You put that in your room and everything changes energetically. The way you manifest, the way you sleep, energy, abundance, affirmations, all those things. It has a effect on the environment that you're living in. And I channeled this like 2 days ago. Like it was like, okay, why don't you make Metatron's chest? And I'm like, that's an idea. So it's a little different than the scalar fractal capacitor, but works in a similar principle. So people can email me and ask me, and then I can say what's available. They're not listed because they're selling out so fast.
Okay, but you do.
And word of mouth was so fast that before I could list the thing, it was sold.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but right now, what do you have left? Do you have the pendants?
Yeah, everything that you see in my store is available.
Okay.
Everything else you'd have to ask custom made.
Okay. All right.
That takes time.
All right.
I had super good business, so, and I make these things myself, so that takes time,
It does, especially when I get the money to do the med beds, to order the med beds for all the healing centers that I want to open. So we're gonna have to clone you by then.
Yeah, I will figure out a way to have house in preparation where I can store at least 10 med beds. And then I already have 3 ladies interested. So they're doing sessions right now, and then they're ready to make orders. And mind you, this is an investment for life. And the med beds are between $35,000 and you can say $42,000 right now, as in cost and labor, and really putting this together. And not only that people buy the med beds, that money goes into helping supplying more retreat centers so people can do more sessions. It finances directly the production of those things, because we refrained from investors, because investors got so greedy that if my divine channeling is disturbed by people who smell millions and see the golden goose in me, I can't do my job. So I have to make a direct exchange and have full control over what I do, or have an angelic investor that says, hey, here's $200,000 gifted, tax-free, do what you have to do. Like, I need complete reign and control over that. And that's decreed also by my council, because there's been too much disturbance with monetary. What can I get out of this guy? That's the golden goose. And you know what happened to the golden goose?
Yes.
The fairy tale.
Yes.
Yeah. So slaughter the goose, no more golden eggs.
Yeah,
so
no,
people
absolutely.
get greedy, not understanding. And we want flow, not just, I want the lump sum and this is my catch and this and that. We want a continuous flow and evolution of that, what I bring into this planet and undisturbed. So I can build at some point my own retreat center and set it up. I have other ideas, and then hire people to run that, because I want landing platform, meditation space.
Yes. Yep.
And med beds. I want photonically enhanced samadhi tanks that I will buy and then repurpose and change the photonics. I want healing wells, where I want saltwater pools that are photonically and magnetically aligned, that you can, like, imagine a med bed is kind of like a pool now. You can be in a pool. In the Star Wars movie, Boba Fett repairs himself in a Bacta tank. I want to build a Bacta tank actually for that purpose.
Yep.
And maybe a one that Luke Skywalker used, like this, the tube, and you're hanging in there.
Yep.
And you can pull yourself out automated. So we have bigger ideas, and my technology can be applied with that. That'll all work. I have already tested it. So we want to make a future healing Tatooine starport. That's the idea.
Yep. Well, and hopefully
come and get into the real experience.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll be able to help you with that. So I'm hoping.
Hey, the souls that know what to do will come to my aid. That's what the galactic psychic told me.
Yeah.
There will be no question. Like starseeds that are like minds that are telepathically linked, they'll have a feeling where they know I'm going to help this person or this, or we're going to work together. There's no question. Because in clarity, that's a fifth dimensional connection. And that's undisrupted. And that is what I focus on while the world runs after war, famine, I call it Kool-Aid
Yeah.
injections and all this stuff. To
Yeah.
get clarity to people, and consciousness is the only way through and out of this dilemma.
Absolutely. Doing things for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and knowing by divine purpose, what am I here to do?
As well. So tell me, what's this really cool light that keeps flashing behind you?
This is a test they called, let me remove this so you can see it. These are called nano leaves. And I put them together in a geometry like the Megatron. And they're sound activated. So see?
Wow.
And they're called nano leaf. You can build your own geometry. I just use it to build sacred geometry.
Nanoleaf. Wow. I'm
So
loving that.
So
okay. And then the other thing too that you have is you have a YouTube channel as well.
yeah, Arcturus RA.
Arcturus RA.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, ARCTURUS space RA. And yeah, subscribe. You know, there's free
Absolutely.
tutorials. I have a show on there. It's called Essential Experience, as an ascension, essential. And I report unusual cases, interview unusual beings, and have my own unusual storylines to add to the program. I'm working on rendering my Shasta experience. That will be on the next show. So that probably takes a week or two, because I'm in the process of rendering and putting it together.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. I can't wait to see what else you come up with. Just to be able to follow your genius journey of not only your genius, but the channeling added to the genius. You know, it's just it can't be beat. It's just, it truly is amazing to see this technology come through. It's super exciting to see it. It's even more exciting to see that you are coming from the right place in the heart space, and that this, you know, this stuff isn't being priced at gazillion dollars. You know, you're being just seeing that it really, for me, it resonates. Yes, I'm supporting this person, because you know, whenever people aren't doing it for money, that's to me, that's really resonates with what 5D is going to be all about, which is about helping each other in any way possible.
And we move money with this. We generate resources. With that, we buy crystals, we buy saltwater tanks. Like we continue this. See, my aim is not to buy the latest car right now. I have to turn this into resources so I can produce. All my money goes back into producing and delivering things to people that I'm able to produce more. You know, pre-production costs thousands of dollars. Like I put like $30,000 down just to even have trucks come deliver the beds and prepare that, and have all the tools and devices to cut and solder and weld, to have it set so I can make it. People think this is like it's not a $10 job, you know. So
no, not for sure,
people are basically investing in their own health and well-being for the future. That's what we're doing here.
Yes, absolutely. And helping others, helping humanity in the future, you know, with these beds. And hopefully we can do it, you know, as I open the centers, I'm hoping it's going to be either for free or, you know, donation based, so that anybody and everybody can get access to these med beds and the healing.
I was told not for free for the following reason: the human race needs to understand to value exchange.
You know, that is huge. And I'll tell you why. When I used to give my quantum hypnosis sessions for free, people would not show up. They would not put value to it.
We had When I first moved to Sedona, we had rented a big house, and we had a guy staying for free, and he was like sharing is caring. We would work, we would make money, he would eat all our food, he would complain, he would not respect. And then we said, okay, this is a communal space here, you need to contribute something to something here to keep this going. And we refused, and we kicked him out. Free creates disrespect.
It does.
People
Absolutely.
like bummy, and they don't value what you're doing. And if somebody bakes bread, there has to be an exchange for the labor for the bread that was baked. That's why we have monetary exchange. People are misusing it. That's their problem.
Yeah.
But the universe works in exchange. You study spirituality in a divine way, you will have a divine reward. You abuse that, you will reap what you sow.
Absolutely.
That's why I say, there has to be an exchange, so people respect that.
Absolutely.
That they know that they put their labor into that value to get that exchange where somebody else has put labor into it, and that has to be respected.
Yes, I agree with you 110%.
That will be, whether it's crypto, whatever people have, whatever goods, they always exchange will remain on this planet, because we have to learn to reevaluate what is my value to what, to life, to health, to materialism, to joy. What is that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's specific, very specific to the humans as well, because again, if it's free to them, it has no value. That's what it equals, it no value. So I agree with you 110%. That is something that we have to have in order for it to be meaningful for humans. But again, the prices that you have put forth have been very fair, very fair.
Yeah,
and
I'm really keeping it like, kid you not, I've seen pendants that were platinum and diamond studded for $15,000. So I'm trying to keep it really low with a pendant, that it's not really, even when I invent the golden one, I don't want to go higher than, let's say, a couple of $100, because
Right.
the plated and all that stuff. And I've seen pendants for $1,400 that don't do what I do. So I'm like, if that thing is not platinum and some extra mineral value, then I think it's affordable, and they're also beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I won't take any more of your time, but this has been amazing, and I'm so grateful. I really can't wait to reach out to you the next time with the abundance that is coming my way, and where we can hopefully do some, give some help to humanity. So looking forward to that.
Everything will work. I always say everything in divine timing. It will always work.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ross, so much for being here. And for everybody else who watched, thank you so much. If you could please like the video and subscribe, also subscribe and check out Arcturus RA's channel as well. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching.